What do you think is the first order of business? And is it going to be easily done from here after bipartisanship was found on the foreign aid bill?
You know, it's hard to pivot to the silliness of my city after hearing the interview that you just conducted and an issue so important and so personal, but we'll do our best, right? And here's the story on DC. It's going to be quiet for the next few months. And I think that markets should enjoy that peace and quiet because it's going to be an incredibly long and taxing campaign season. And then next year is going to be very, very busy with trillions of dollars in tax cuts coming up for expiration and the debt ceiling coming back. So what I'm telling my clients is, look, we're going to watch the FAA bill, which is due by May 10th, because maybe that's a vehicle for these acute issues like stable coins and cannabis banking. But really, it's going to be quiet from Congress for the next few months, and we should be thankful for that.
Well, let's talk about that FAA reauthorization, because we keep hearing that might be the last train to leave the station, or I guess plane would be the correct metaphor. And I talked about it earlier with Maya McGinnis, because we're hearing this could be lit up into a big Christmas tree with a lot of decorations. You mentioned a couple possibilities there with stablecoin, maybe safe banking. Here's what she said.
I think there'll be many people who make runs at attaching their bills, the things they prefer. But listen, everybody in the House has an election that they want to get back home and start focusing on. It's a very difficult tightrope to walk to get certain things attached or not. So I think there's a risk of a Christmas tree, but I think the most likely outcome is that it passes without anything major being attached to it.
So, Isaac, how bright is this tree going to be? We're talking about amendments and how many extra issues could be added to this one. What's your forecast?
Yeah, so look, I am always cautious of the fact that in D.C. things are impossible right up until they're inevitable. So I am watching this closely, but I am bearish on this becoming a big, broad Christmas tree. The clock is ticking. And, you know, when we talk about some of these issues that clients care about, so cannabis banking is one that matters greatly for that whole ecosystem. And then stablecoin legislation, obviously, could be meaningful for that corner of the marketplace. We've got to keep in mind, they still don't actually have an agreement on the stablecoin bill. And Senator McConnell is still opposed to the cannabis portion of it. So there's no real reason to be bullish about that for the time being. And in terms of, you know, the last plane leaving the station, as you so aptly say, I would just note that there are going to be a few more bills that we're going to have to watch after the election. The annual defense bill has become law 60 years in a row. That's going to become law again. That could be the real Christmas tree from my seat.
Okay, fair enough. We'll be on Christmas tree watch, perhaps a bit closer to actual Christmas if it's after the election, Isaac, instead of having that conversation in what feels like summertime in Washington today. So there is a question on the work that Congress has ahead of it, but also work that already has been done that is going to result in consequences moving forward. As part of this foreign aid bill that we know they passed, there was a TikTok divest or ban bill attached to it. What happens next in that saga? Knowing that ByteDance has vowed to fight that divestiture in court, China would have to sign off on it. If you're a person in the U.S. trying to figure out what's going on with TikTok, what realistically happens as a result of this legislation?
Yeah, this is a perfect example of that, the things in D.C. being impossible until they're inevitable. And I've got to tell you, a lot of clients were surprised because we're so conditioned for D.C. to do nothing. And they show that they're able to do something here. And it's really noteworthy that the tone and tenor regarding TikTok changed on the Hill. And you could see that sentiment shift. But the next step is harder. And look, I'm telling my clients, I think that we're going to have litigation that could push this all the way into mid-2026. And so and on that end with the litigation, while I'm sympathetic to the argument that the government has the right to ban TikTok, it's ultimately going to be up to the courts. And that is a lengthy process, and it's becoming increasingly murky given some of the political dynamics at play in the judiciary. So from a TikTok user perspective, you've got a couple more years at a minimum before I think the courts will have the final say on that matter.
Thought we had a tax deal, Isaac. Everybody was excited months back about, gosh, look, we can work together. Look how fast it happened. And we had what seemed to be a fairly balanced trade between an extended child tax credit and more favorable business taxes. Then everybody got real quiet. Senators started to have problems with that particular arrangement. Now that we're beyond tax day, is it over?
Look, it's dead. And I think that we can spend a lot of time trying to understand why, because this should have become law. It's not just that there was this basic agreement between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats got the child tax credit. Republicans got the business extenders they want. It would also stop the employee retention credit, the ERC, which is just rife with fraud. And it would put an end to that. This should have become law. But it didn't. And I think it didn't become law because there are some senior Republicans who believe that next year they're going to have the Senate, which is a good bet, and they prefer to negotiate on their terms next year. And so that's why it died, and that's why we're going to wait until next year. And it adds even more pressure to what's going to be a year dominated by fiscal themes.
We always seem to be piling on the pressure, don't we, Isaac? Certainly there's a lot of high pressure situations out there right now, including at many college campuses across the country. We, of course, saw what happened at Columbia University today, where student protesters refused to leave the encampment after a deadline that the university set. And we also heard from House Speaker Mike Johnson, who posted a video on Twitter suggesting that Congress could take action to protect Jewish students, potentially cutting funding to some schools. How likely is it in your mind that Congress could actually do that, and that would be something that would get a signature from President Biden?
It's highly unlikely that Congress is going to act on this in a material way. I do think that we're going to see a fair amount of jawboning from all over D.C. And you're going to have hearings, you're going to have symposia, you're going to have all of those things, but we're not going to see actual legislation here. I think that this is one of those examples where you see D.C. shaking its fist and both sides angry at each other, but there being absolutely no consensus regarding how to legislate on this type of issue. And it's frankly just too fast moving for a Congress that doesn't have the capacity to be nimble. So look, I think we're going to hear a lot of headlines, but we're not going to see actual legislating on this.
Mike Johnson going to be Speaker at the end of this Congress?
He's outlasted everyone's bets. And I think, you can give him plaudits, and you should, for being able to move forward with this foreign spending supplemental. But it's hard to not look at the fact that just a few months ago, we were going to have the exact same foreign aid supplemental plus meaningful structural shifts to the country's immigration policy. And so it's hard not to look at it and say, well, it's great that he accomplished that, but goodness gracious, they left a lot on the table that I think could have been net positive from an immigration policy perspective.